All right, so welcome back to the channel. And today we're just going to talk about the differences between the S series phones, Samsung A series, and Samsung S series. Now, most people, you're going to, especially if you walk into like a T-Mobile, a Metro by T-Mobile, different stores, it's very rare to have a particular person inform you and tell you the difference between devices. It's their job to just sell you something for commission. So you're not going to necessarily know the major differences in what phone suits you. When I personally was in the cell phone world, I was cell phones based on a person's needs and obviously their budget. So you can walk out with something a couple $100 or less rather than spending $1,000 on an iPhone just to be able to say I have an iPhone. You know, there are people out there like that just want the status rather than the functionality. So first thing we're going to start off with is just a picture. Now, if you look at this carefully, this is the S21. This is the Galaxy A72, and this is the Galaxy A52. I was hoping to find a black one, but the A series come in different colors. Like unlike the S series, they don't really come in colors. The A series does. Now, when you look at these three phones, now I will admit that the A21 S21 does look nice, but the A series has come up in a way where they're starting to look like flagship devices, especially the A52. It has that matte feel, especially in black. It has the four camera setup. It does protrude, it stick out similar to the S20 Ultra. And it's just amazing that they're taking the time to really up this series because more and more people are starting to catch on to the fact that you don't have to spend $1,500 for a phone. You could be comfortable at the $500, $600 mark, which to me, that's still flagship prices because if you can buy an iPhone for $500, $600, you buy an iPhone. But if you have to have Galaxy, then my suggestion is definitely shop around because there are phones that you can get um, that are last year's flagship for half the price, especially under other companies. I'm not biased. I actually like shopping around and I'll try different companies as long as it suits me. I'll go for where I want it, if that makes sense. I'll go for what phone is actually good and what works for me rather than brand loyalty. But let's switch over and just talk about the differences between the A series and basically S series. So the first thing is the S series. Let me scroll up to the top. Sorry about that. The S series has key features. This is a website from Cool Blue, so I'm just using their information. We're just going to hit a couple bullet points, and then I'll just talk about it myself. So the first one is the S series take the best photos and videos. The top of the line cameras in Samsung are put into the S series, so they can charge more money, obviously, and it's what they're trying to get their customers to get. Like the Z Flip, I can't speak for the Z Flip. That's more of a gimmick. The Fold is more of a gimmick. Until they actually become reasonably priced and affordable, I'm never going to talk about those devices because, to be honest, they're not that good. But the S series regular devices like the S21, S21 Ultra, or S20 Ultra, certain ones, they tend to have better cameras than the A series. Now, originally, the J series, which is discontinued a long time ago, it was the J series and the S series, is what I remember many years ago before they started pushing out the A series, which was a higher end series than the J. It was a replacement to it. The J series was terrible. It was still using thick bezels and some of them didn't have fingerprint scanners. It was like that was the market, the prepaid market, like the bare minimum. But people weren't, I mean, some people did take to those phones, but you have to change your approach to marketing when you're dealing with companies like Apple and Oppo at the time, and LG was coming out with different devices with less bezel. Even though LG's done now, they announced that they weren't making any more phones. I'm sure they'll make something still, and if it sells well, they'll come back. That's how most companies are. They're just failing at the moment, and they barely have any market share. Samsung and Apple have the highest market share in phones. Anyway, if you're looking for better photos, you're going to tend to get the S21, the S series, period. The A series has decent photos, but the problem with that is they're using like 48, 64 megapixels. That sounds like a lot, but they're not using the same super pixels and whatnot that they use for the A series. So you're not getting that same quality of lenses, even though you'll get the four camera setup with the wide and the macro and all that. It's the lowest quality possible. So a lot of times you're going to end up using the wide and the ultra wide, panorama, things like that, little features, but that's about it. And if you're in low lighting, it's not going to be that great, especially when doing video recordings. You're going to need a lamp or just a nicely lit area with the A series phones. Not saying you can't use them, but if we're talking about productivity, guess what? You're going to want to stick to S series. If we're talking about price, the A52 5G is definitely a phone worth looking into. $500 initially, but you can get carrier deals or carrier prepaid deals where you can get the phone for half price and you own it. Clearer. The second option is the device has clear screen and better sound than phones from the A and J series. That is true. Better speakers, clearer speakers, better sound. The A series does use AMOLED screens, but the quality of those screens and the nits, which is the brightness, when you hit that brightness, you go outside in the sun, you won't see it as much as a glare. In the S series, the A series, I think they still, keeping it to a certain price point so that you still get the experience, but you don't get the full experience, if you know what I mean. It's like if you say, "Oh, I like this phone, but I want the best camera, this and that," it might make you inclined to spend that $1,000 to get a phone. But again, if you're like me and you do minimal things on your phone, it's okay to get an A series phone. But you do need to understand specifications and processors because if you see something, what I say is shop processors the same way you shop computers because it's a computer. You just can talk on it. And if you buy something that's mediocre, guess what? You're going to get mediocre camera quality. You're going to get lag. You're going to get storage issues. You got to pay attention to these things. So the bare minimum, in my opinion, should be 128 gigs in a phone, which most Samsungs and Motorola's have right now. A lot of OnePlus also, they're in that market. When you talk about mid-tier phones, Apple's the only one that's still holding on to that 64 gig price point, which doesn't make sense. But again, they're making bazillion dollars, so people will buy it. Um, these phones, third bullet point is these fast phones can handle the most demanding programs. Now, this is one of the reasons why I have an iPhone right now, and I also have a OnePlus 8T. So I use both of worlds. I like using both phones to really do comparisons. The problem here is that as you start doing like video editing, that's one option. Playing hardcore games at the highest settings, productivity, like I said, editing. For me, it's mainly the camera, it's editing, and it's gaming. That takes a huge toll on your phone, and people don't emphasize how much you need these newer processors to be able to handle what you're doing. I don't do any editing on the computer whatsoever when it comes to videos. To be honest, I try to make them as perfect as possible, and I just leave them as is. Or I have, a family, someone that I know, family member, someone that's into the tech field, take a look at the video and give me some key pointers, things like that, because I'm new to this. But for the most part, if I'm going to do editing, I'm not interested in paying tons of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for editing software. I could just do this on my phone. And Apple devices, iPads, this is why one of the reasons why they're so popular is because you can do a lot of your edits and uploads from those devices, and then save them to the cloud, and then pull it from the PC or not PC, but the iMac or MacBook and different things. The ecosystem. This is where that comes in handy. But with Android devices, you don't so much need an ecosystem because you can just drag and drop. Which get on that Apple, get on that now. But anyway, the better the processor, the more everything you can handle. The longer the phone would typically last when being abused and used, you shouldn't experience any lag, especially when using applications or doing recordings for videos. The processor also affects, and amount of RAM also affects how well your camera can perform. So just keep that in mind. If you're a vlogger and you're looking for a series, I'm always going to suggest the A52 5G. And I'm not going to suggest any other A series phone because that one has 120 hertz. Excuse me. It has 128 gigs internally, 6 gigs of RAM. I forget the exact screen resolution, but I did a video on that earlier. But it's actually a really good phone if you're looking for that. You don't want to go any higher than that $500 price point. But like I said before, you can get that through carrier deals like Metro PCS for $249 as a new customer, $99 as a port, between 99 to 199 as a port through Metro PCS. They constantly change their deals, but that is the ideal A series phone where it's a beautiful looking phone. I showed a picture of it earlier on the screenshot. Um, wireless charging, being waterproof, things like that, glass casing. Personally, I prefer the plastic or plexiglass, whatever you call it, the plastic aluminum casing. I'm not very big. I don't care about glass, and I don't care about wireless charging that much. Even though my iPhone can wireless charge without a problem, my OnePlus 8T can't, unfortunately, but it does have that 65-watt charger, so I'm not really concerned about that. And I've never broke a charging port, thank goodness. But sure, wireless charging and some other features are things that the higher end phones incorporate. Are they necessary? No. If you don't live that lifestyle where you don't use wireless charging, you don't have to worry about it. But Samsung does make a wireless charger specifically made for their phones. Where I forgot how many watts it is, and you can still get that super fast charging while you're sitting at a desk. You just put it on a stand, it'll start charging on its own, and you can still see it because it's on a stand, probably facing you or however you have it set up. Now, I will say that again, if you're looking for the best cameras and high-end productivity, and you're a Samsung user and you want to record, some people use their phones for YouTube videos. Let's not forget that. A lot of these YouTubers use their phones, and you know, they're starting to, a lot of people are starting to shy away from the actual professional cameras. Not saying that this is it's an alternative to a professional camera, but you should always have a professional camera if you plan on doing something. You know, in the long run, longevity, you'll probably get that one camera and you'll use it for the rest of your life. But on the other hand, phones are every single year, and they're always being thrown in your face. So that's what the S series pretty much um, details. It's a higher end, more powerful processor. Like the current Samsung, I believe, is a Snapdragon 888, while the A series is still using 750Gs. So you could definitely tell that one's in a mid tier, one's in a high tier market, and so it's very. Just make sure you know what it is that you personally want to do. Only you know, and then base your phone search on that. And that's my suggestion for that one. Now for the A series, which is odd, the A series tend to have bigger batteries than the S series. And I also noticed that the A series are experiments for Samsung because different model A series don't make it to the United States a lot of times. They'll be in India, some will be over here in Asia. So it really depends on the region that you're in. Certain devices are more popular in certain areas. Typically in the US, we get a particular variant of a phone, like the A52. I never heard of that. I ended up hearing about the A52 5G first, and I was ready for that phone. And then when I started looking at reviews, everyone kept saying A52, A52, A52. I'm like, yo, like, wait a minute. The A52 5G is 120 hertz, the A52 is 90 hertz. So don't confuse the two. They're two separate phones. Make sure you type in that 5G in the end when you're searching the A52. They, like I said, they tend to have bigger batteries. The A series also, some of them support 25-watt fast charging instead of the traditional 15. So now you'll be able to get a 25-watt adapter, or if you already have one, it'll say super. I mean, instead of saying fast charging, it'll say like very fast charging or something like that. So you know that that 25-watt charger is actually working properly. Um, the cameras, like I said, the cameras are very good. I did a camera video on my page for the A52 5G just to show you how the camera looked in real time. I was at 8th Market where my job is. I was on a break and I took a little 5 minute, 6 minute video, however long it was. But so definitely take a look at that if you're looking to see how good the cameras are, especially in lighting. Um, they do use the Samsung AMOLED screen. Now, Samsung did try to pull a stunt with the A21 and take away and put an LCD screen in it. I don't think that worked too well for them because after a few models, they did go back to the Super AMOLED screens. And, when they realized that there was a market, a mid-tier market, that's when I guess they decided to kind of take. Well, let me rephrase it this way. The A series phones is what created the S series today as how they look. Because the A series had that camera bump setup back with the A51 and other devices where Samsung basically took that design and kept it for the S series. So whenever they try something new, a lot of times they use the A series for that purpose. And now the A series is kind of on the back burner where it's getting the old designs like the S20 Ultra. That's what the A series now more so looks like, while the S series is now the standard of, design. Now they're really doing the cut in the corners, the camera bump, and it's actually in the phone bezel on the side and all that. So they're trying different things. but originally they used the A series for that, which is weird because if you're a Samsung user, and again, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, my S21 and my A52 5G had the worst, and I mean the worst fingerprint scanner that I have ever seen in my entire life. It's horrible. I don't know what they did to their fingerprints. They need to work on that. But oddly enough, the A32 5G has a fingerprint scanner in the lock button. So it's like they're experimenting what does work, what will work for certain people. And I'm sure over time they'll incorporate that. Personally, I just hope they put a fingerprint back in the lock button because your finger is always there anyway when you're unlocking your phone. So we'll see. I doubt they do that. These giant tech companies tend to never listen to their customer base. And if they don't start listening, they're going to end up like LG. Because at this point, every Android phone looks exactly the same, so it's hard to differentiate. Ha, I said that word. It's hard to tell them I can't really say it. I have a stutter, but anyway, it's hard to tell the difference between them. A lot of times when you look at these phones, so just be mindful when you walk into a store and someone says, "Oh, we have a deal on an 832." T-Mobile will tell you that. Don't buy that phone unless you know what that phone does, how much RAM is in that phone, what you plan on using that phone for. You plan on playing Call of Duty? Go get yourself an 852. You plan on playing Genshin Impact? Go get yourself an 852. Granted, it'll be on like low settings because that is a high intensive game, but it's still playable. But if you want no lag, no issues, guess what? You're gonna have to cough up a little bit more money. You might have to get either an S20, you might have to get an S21. That's how the game goes. As technology keeps coming out, more and more games are being pushed based on higher end graphics, not lower end graphics. So if you're in that gaming industry and you want to have your face on the page while you're streaming the game and playing it, and listen, you're going to need to have a higher end phone for that because you're going to experience lag. One of the things that some of these devices do not tell you, and I'm going to tell you now, is that you're going to experience lag when it comes to using applications. They're never going to tell you that. When you screen record, there's lag if you're using a low end phone. It may look cloudy when you first upload. It may not be smooth at all. It might only screen record in 1280 by 720. You're not going to know these things unless you actually look into phones. And that's the problem I had with the OnePlus N10 5G. It will only screen record like 12 something 1280, whatever it is, 720p, right? So initially when you watch the videos, they turn to be very cloudy, and then like 20, 30 seconds in, it got clear. So again, just be mindful of what you're buying. Buy a device based on your productivity levels rather than beauty, and you'll be perfectly fine. So anyway, this is this video. This is definitely much longer than what it should have been. I definitely look forward to see what they're going to do next with the A series. Hopefully they keep the screens at 120 hertz because anything less than that is a crime against God. And I'll see you in the next video.